We are now recording. All right, well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at this open house tonight to discuss the planning applications for 290 Old Harwood Avenue. The purpose of this open house is to provide you with an overview of the applications and to hear your comments and get your feedback on those applications. Today's meeting is being conducted on the Zoom webinar platform, and it is scheduled from 7 to 9 p.m. Please note that we are recording this meeting, and it will be made public on the town's IMO page, which is the town's public consultation web platform. My name is Stev Anderson. I'm the manager of planning for the town, and I will be facilitating tonight's meeting. With me in attendance is Eric Simpson, a development planner with the town. He's responsible for processing the applications that we'll be discussing tonight. From Ajax Council, we have Ward 3 Regional Councillor Joanne Dyes, Ward 1 Regional Councillor Ward 1 Regional Councillor Marilyn Crawford, and Ward 1 Councillor Rob Tyler Morin. We also have the applicants for the proposed development. We have Sherry Lajarni from Spotlight Developments. And we have members of their consultation team. We have Joanna Fast from Evans Planning and Nick Swerdfeger from Barry Bryan Associates. The town is in receipt of and currently reviewing zoning bylaw amendment and site plan applications for 290 Old Harwood Avenue, which along with supporting reports and studies have been posted on the town's IMO page. Tonight, we're going to start with a presentation from Eric, who will provide an overview of the land use planning framework and the site context, as well as a history of the development applications on the property. Then the applicant's consultants will present on the specifics of the proposed development. Following this, we will open the floor up to any attendee who wants to speak to the proposed development. As attendees, your mics and cameras are automatically disabled. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand by using the hand icon button at the bottom of your screen, and I will enable your microphone. When this happens, you'll receive a pop-up message advising that you've been given permission to unmute. After you've asked your question, I will disable your mic before moving on to the next speaker. Your video will remain disabled throughout the whole time. To respect everyone's time and to get to as many people as possible within the allotted time frame for the open house tonight, I do request that you keep your comments as succinct as possible. If we have a lot of attendees wishing to speak, I may limit you to 5 minutes. We also encourage you to type your comments by accessing the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, as we may not be able to get to everyone within the allotted time. The use of the Q&A button is to use our time during the open house for people who wish to speak. If there is time left over, then we'll go to the typed questions and answer them live. As I mentioned, this open house is being recorded and will be posted on the IMO page next week for those who were unable to attend. Any questions that are typed into the Q&A section that we're not able to answer live will be addressed in a forthcoming staff report. We will continue to accept comments after this meeting, so please feel free to provide additional comments in writing via the town's IMO page or via email to Eric, and his contact information is on that IMO page. And now I will hand it over to Eric for the presentation.
Thanks, Stev. So as Stev indicated, my name is Eric Simpson, development planner with the town of Ajax. My presentation will provide an overview of the development applications that have been submitted to the town for the proposed development of 290 Old Harwood Avenue. The subject lands highlighted in red are located on the west side of Old Harwood Avenue, on the north side of Bantham Lane, south of Sheldon Drive, and are municipally known as 290 Old Harwood Avenue. Immediately west and south is an existing residential condominium consisting of bungalow townhouse dwellings. This seniors development is known as Henderson Place and is serviced by Bantham Lane, Gidley Lane, Tadman Lane, and Hirschfield Lane. Directly south of this is a 4-story Chartwell retirement residence. To the east, and north of the subject lands are street townhouse dwellings and single detached dwellings. In 2001, Town of Ajax Council approved zoning bylaw 33/2001, which is known as Exception 59 in the town's current zoning bylaw, to permit 48-unit seniors development consisting of bungalow townhouses and a related seniors building on 290 Old Harwood Avenue and the adjacent lands, which is the existing Henderson Place development. It was intended that these lands would consist of a two-phased adult lifestyle community. The zoning bylaw was tailored around a conceptual site plan, which is illustrated on the screen, that proposed a seniors building in the center of the development site surrounded by bungalow townhouses. As a result, site-specific development standards, such as minimum setbacks for the seniors building, were established based on this intended location. In 2003, Greenvilla Homes submitted a site plan application to develop the 48 bungalow townhouses, a private park, and the preservation and restoration of the existing Henderson house as a common element. This is all known as the Henderson Place development. The seniors building was not part of the development proposal. The bungalow townhouses were approved based on a different development concept that set aside lands for the future development of a seniors building. Once the condominium for the Henderson Place development was registered, the future development lands naturally severed off and became a separate parcel, which is known today as 290 Old Harwood Avenue, the subject lands. Although not part of the Henderson Place development, these subject lands are directly adjacent to such and are located along Bantham Lane. A site plan application was submitted for the subject lands in 2005 for the proposal of a 4-story 76-unit senior building. This development proposal was never approved, however. In 2013, a site plan amendment application was submitted as well, proposing the development of 20 back-to-back 3-story townhouse dwellings designed specifically for seniors. However, this development proposal was never moved forward and was not approved either. The subject lands were sold, and a new owner, the applicant, has now submitted a zoning bylaw amendment application and site plan application to facilitate the development of the lands. The applicant is proposing the development of a 7-story apartment building consisting of seniors rental units and affordable rental units for a total of 124 dwelling units. More specifically, 85 seniors units and 39 affordable units are currently proposed. 1 level of underground parking and ground level parking for a total of 94 parking spaces are currently proposed to accommodate the development. 2 site accesses, one off of Bantham Lane and one off of Old Harwood Avenue, are proposed to service the development. Indoor and outdoor amenity space are proposed. Outdoor rooftop amenity space is proposed surrounding the 7-story, which would consist of indoor amenity space. The applicant's architect will provide a detailed overview of the development proposal after. The subject lands outlined in red are designated medium density residential, which is shown in orange in the town's official plan. The Henderson Place development is designated as medium density residential, and the existing residential lands to the east are also designated as medium density. The existing residential lands to the north are designated low density residential, which is shown in yellow. The Chartwell retirement residence to the south is subject to area specific policy 617 in the official plan, which is the result of a previous official plan amendment to permit the existing retirement residence. Old Harwood Avenue is identified as a local road and Bantham Lane is a private condominium road. The medium density residential designation permits duplex dwellings, block townhouses, street townhouses, stacked townhouses, attached housing, apartments, and other forms of moderately scaled housing within a density range of 30 to 75 units per net hectare. A minimum of 3 and a maximum of 6 stories of height is permitted. The official plan defines special needs housing as assisted housing, group homes, hospices, shelters, nursing homes, and seniors housing. Special needs housing is permitted within all residential designations, subject to the applicable built form and density provisions of that designation. The subject lands outlined in red are currently zoned residential multiple 5 RM5 zone, which is shown in purple, and subject to exception 59 in the town zoning bylaw. The Henderson Place development is also zoned as such, and the Chartwell retirement residence to the south is zoned as such. However, it is subject to a different exception, exception 158. The other surrounding residential lands are subject to different applicable residential zones. The RM5 zone permits multiple attached dwellings, commonly referred to as block townhouse dwellings or condominium townhouse dwellings, and a senior citizen's apartment. Exception 59 is a result of the previous zoning bylaw amendment and development concept as previously outlined. Exception 59 sets a maximum number of dwelling units, more specifically 48 multiple attached dwellings, which reflects the Henderson Place development, and states that a maximum number of dwelling units within a senior's residence shall be subject to setback, height, parking space, and lot coverage requirements. It does not define a specific number. Exception 59 sets site-specific development standards such as minimum setback provisions and parking rates for the multiple attached dwellings or the Henderson Place development, and minimum setback, maximum lot coverage, maximum building height, and minimum parking rates specifically for the senior's residence. These development standards were based on the previous development concept and require a minimum setback of 20 meters from all lot lines, permit a maximum lot coverage of 20%, permit a maximum building height of 15 meters, and permit a minimum parking rate of 0.25 spaces per unit. As a result of this, and given the current configurations of the subject lands, achieving zoning compliance is not realistic. This is why the previous site plan applications, both of the 4-story building and the 3-story townhouse dwelling proposals, went through minor variance approval processes. The following applications have been submitted to the town by the applicant. A zoning bylaw amendment application. The purpose of this application is to set new site-specific development standards and to permit additional uses to facilitate the proposed development. A site plan application. The development of lands is subject to site plan control under the Planning Act, and as such, a site plan application is required to obtain site plan approval prior to the issuance of any building permits on the lands. The purpose of the site plan application is to examine the design and technical aspects of the proposed development. The following materials have been submitted in support of the applications: planning justification report, transportation impact study, urban design brief, waste management brief, phase 1 environmental site assessment, preliminary geotechnical investigation, a hydrogeological assessment, construction vibration assessment, arborist report, functional service and stormwater management report, landscape and tree protection plans, civil engineering plans, a site plan and architectural plans, and lighting and photometric plans. In addition to these, other technical documentation has been submitted for reference purposes. Town staff and regional staff are in the process of reviewing these materials in detail. To date, detailed comments on such materials from the majority of staff have been provided to the applicant to address. Additional comments will be provided in the near future. Since the development notification signs were posted on the subject lands, and since the public open house notice was mailed out, staff have received various written comments from the public. This is in the form of emails and letters. And I would like to thank everyone for sharing and voicing their concerns. Unfortunately, I have not had a chance to go through all the correspondence in full detail yet, but I will respond to and acknowledge all correspondence individually. It is important to note that no decisions are being made on the development proposal tonight. The public open house is a mechanism to provide for public engagement. Public comments are still welcomed and considered after this as the development review process continues. A future public meeting will be held for this development proposal once a staff recommendation report is prepared for council's consideration. The public will be notified of this future meeting. So that concludes my presentation for tonight. We will now proceed with the presentation from the applicant. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joanna Fast. I'm a planner with Evans Planning, and I am the planning consultant who's taking care of this application on behalf of the owner. The town planner did a great job of explaining the application, so I won't go into too much detail about what we're proposing. I just wanted to bring up that the application is for a seniors apartment building, and that we're proposing that 85 of the 124 units will be for rental apartment units, and 39 of those units are going to be for affordable rental units. The building is proposed to be 7 stories in height. We're permitted in the official plan to do 6 stories. That 7th story was proposed is proposed to be an amenity area only. There are no dwelling units proposed within that 7th story. The amenity areas include an eating area, a gym, a business center, lap pools, and we also are proposing a green roof with raised planters. And that amenity area is intended to be used by everyone within the condominium community. We were planning on opening that up to everyone. So we would be happy to have this building be a part of this condominium community. I will quickly just let you know about the builder. The builder is Spotlight Developments. They're a Toronto-based builder and developer, and they have many projects across the GTA. And they pride themselves in building consumer friendly products with the community in mind. They have built many projects with the Fitwell design, and I believe the architect might mention that in his presentation. They've also are working on a project in Toronto called the Rena condominium, and that's a female-focused condominium, full female design team, and so they're really innovative builders, and I think that this will be a great building, a great fit within the community, and they'll do a great job building this apartment building. I'm now going to pass the presentation on to the architect, and he'll be able to walk you through some of the design elements and features of the proposal.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, everyone, specifically town planning staff and members of the community for allowing us to present this project in an open public forum tonight. My name is Nick Swerdfiger. I'm principal architect at Barry Bryan & Associates in Whitby, Ontario. We've been around for 35 years, have developed a lot of community spaces in the Eastern GTA and abroad as well. So I have a short little presentation that I'm going to share. Some of the material has already been presented, and I'll try to be very brief. Okay. As you know, the project we're discussing this evening is the development for 290 Old Harwood. Although the development is 6-story, it is actually a 7-story residential development due to the amenity level, community amenity level that is at the top. So just some quick statistics. As you know, the development is located at 290 Old Harwood at the intersection of Old Harwood Avenue and Bantham Lane, which is the private laneway to the condominium. The site area is noted as just over 3,000 square meters. Our building area, which is our footprint, is about 1,400 square meters. The total gross floor area is just over 8,400 square meters, and the height is noted as 7 stories with the amenity level, as shown in the image on the right. The unit breakdown is essentially 108 one-bedrooms and 16 two-bedrooms for a total of 124. And as Joanna had mentioned, 39 of those 124 will be affordable designated rental. And just to note that we have about 501 square meters dedicated as community amenity area that I'll speak about a little bit later, just briefly, which is approximately just over 5,000 square feet. A lot of this material is taken from the urban design brief that was prepared by our office, which is submitted to the town of Ajax, and I believe is public information. For any more detailed, you can approach the town planner, Eric. So just to detail of why and where and how we decided to approach this project. As you know, it is a dense development. site placement has a lot to do with it. So we've really taken an urban edge approach by positioning the building in the southeast corner of the property. That allows us to gain surface vehicular access off the north side of Harwood Avenue. And it also provides a sort of ring around and allows Bantham Lane to be used as localized vehicular traffic to the underground parking. Another thing it does is it allows for maximum separation of our development from the existing context on the north of the site. The overall massing and form is developed through a continuous rhythm, which provides a definition of scalable elements and breaking up the overall form. You notice there's repetitive elements which mimic that of a traditional row house development taken to a larger scale. These items are sort of lifted off the ground floor. The extent of the ground floor is to produce a transparent lobby area off the east elevation, which faces Old Harwood, which is really about extending the public realm of the street inside the building so that it's not a continuous street wall and that there's a lot of transparency that helps extend that street life inside the building. And here's another view of how that lobby would create itself at the corner of Old Harwood and Bantham Lane, so that it really does have a street presence, which is very important towards the human and scalable elements. Definitely a principle that is taken from the City of Toronto mid-rise development guidelines as well. I just want to also note as well, I'm not sure if anyone can see my cursor, that there's a step back that happens essentially on the 5th floor, which creates 2 small terrace levels. And that just helps with us to step that massing back at that 6th story and preserve a 45 angular plane from the north property line, as shown in the both east and west elevations below. One element of focus within this development is the community amenity area. The developer Spotlight has really taken an initiative to put something back to the community into a space that's not just used for the particular residents of this building, but residents of the community itself. And the idea here is to create a public level, but by having occupied the ground plane with specific needs of parking and service vehicles, which are all things that sites need to have to function, and footprint as well, the best place for this was to lift that space up onto that roof level and really get a maximum view to the south. South facing as well gives you a lot of sunlight, a lot of warm weather as well. So you can see that with a lot of the glazing that's done on the south windows on the upper levels, as well as a walking path on the exterior that runs around the perimeter edges of the building to create some public life at that level beyond the street. So just to run through a little bit of the program that's up here is a business center. There's washroom facilities and storage. We have a large community room that can be rented out with a small kitchenette. Gym area in the back here with a small child minding space and washroom shower facilities. And then we have a series of swim spa areas, which are essentially hot tubs that you can swim into a water current that can be used as well in all seasons. And the idea is for this glazing that it can open up in the summertime so that we can have natural ventilation through the spaces and also be exposed to the large sun deck. Some of the other exterior features are this large community garden area that'll also be facing south for an opportunity for community members to grow herbs and vegetables as well. Another part of our architectural elements and how the form goes together with the entire composition is the selection of materials. So we were mindful in that this is an existing context in residential development. So we wanted something that is going to be urban, is going to have that distinctness. However, we don't want to be too harsh with materials as well. So what we've done is incorporated modern materials with the white and gray. It's a panelized prefabricated system, but then injected elements that represent natural wood. It's actually phenolic panel materials to give the elevation a softness and that sense of traditional, more housing-like. I would like to also bring attention to the balconies as well. They're not full balconies like many of the older existing buildings. They are Juliet balconies incorporated within the glazing system. However, we've worked on a design to possibly use a lattice-like water jet material that's cut from a stainless steel or an aluminum that just gives another level of intricacy within the development itself. So just looking at what some of those materials represent, the phenolic wood panels mixed in with the pre-engineered, prefabricated wall panel system that'll have glazing incorporated in it. So you can see that the textures of mimicking a stone-like surface, which is a really traditional material, with that wood-like surface, really speak to what a modern residential design brings about in today's development world. Just some items with regards to sustainability, because sustainability is something that can be taken many different ways. Currently, actually, we are striving for the Fitwel rating for this project. Fitwel is a subsidiary of LEED. I'm not sure if anybody knows what LEED is. It's a higher level of design in regards to energy ratings and green standards. So using renewable products, waste diversions, etc. So the image on the left, the bottom left, actually shows our prefabricated wall assembly and the different materials and textures that we're going to be using to create the elevation. So these walls are actually done in 2 floor levels. So that also brings to mind what the impact on this surrounding area will bring to us, because it's going to be a lot quicker to enclose the building as well, which means cranes are going to be on site less than they would be in a typical conventional construction as well. To note as well that the development does follow a LID principle, which is low impact design, which is part of the region of Durham official plan and sustainability mandates as well. And again, the Fitwel program goes above and beyond that. So again, just focusing back on that community rooftop area, the roof is obviously one of the most important areas with respect to the building, other than the units themselves. But it's really about trying to create public space on a tight site, and there's no better place to put it than on the roof, due to the functional constraints that we're dealing with. So it's really about bringing people into the building and up to that public level so that they can experience something that's not in the adjacent context, as well as dramatic views down south towards the lake. So just in conclusion, I would just like to thank everybody for taking the time out of your schedules to listen to this, and hopefully we can address some of the comments from the neighborhood, the community, and the town. And hopefully this building will bring a strong urban development into the area that will attempt to still preserve the human scale of the street, but a modernized form. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric, Joanna, and Nick, for your presentations. Since we started the webinar, we have also been joined by Ward 3 Councillor Lisa Bauer. So now I would like to open it up to attendees who wish to ask questions to either town staff or to the applicants and their consultants. If you would like to ask a question live, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen and I will enable your microphone. So okay, we have our first one is Andre. Okay, Andre, you should be able to unmute.
Good evening, everybody. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do. Please ask your question.
Thanks, Eric, for communication. We have pretty tough communication. I asked question, and actually Eric responded to me that, one sec. The town of Ajax requirements, should trees on adjacent properties need to be removed or have the potential to be impacted, concern from an adjacent property owner from me would be required. And I ask question, by what time my concern shall be obtained? Before the design, during the design, before submission to the council this proposal, or after final decision, and I still did not get a response. So the answer should be reasonable because nobody asked me for concern that my tree to be impacted. Thank you.
So to answer your question, yes, you're correct. Consent would be required. We wouldn't be able to approve a development proposal if consent was required because there was impact to an existing tree on a neighboring property. So that is something we would have to secure. However, whether that comes before, a zoning bylaw amendment was approved or just before the site plan approval, ultimately it has to come before site plan approval. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to come before the zoning bylaw amendment application is approved, because at the end of the day, the development still can't proceed if site plan approval hasn't been issued. So at the end of the day, the development proposal couldn't proceed unless that consent, if it's required, is obtained. So hopefully that answers the question.
I still on?
Yes, you are.
I would like to tell thank you for not understandable question. I made very simple question, by what time, before, during, or after, and based on the answer, I understand nothing. Thank you very much.
Okay, we will go to the next person with their hand up. And that is Liz. Liz, you should be able to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My question's probably to Mr. Simpson. I just want to understand, as the project is right now without any changes, is my interpretation correct that a 6-story building could be built on that site? Is that correct?
The official plan designation in place, the medium density residential, does permit up to 6 stories. However, the current zoning doesn't permit that height. So there would still be a zoning issue.
What does the current zoning then allow in the way of height? How many stories would
Yeah.
that be?
So exception 59 allows 15 meters. So that would
Right,
be
I
up
read
to,
that.
yeah, you could get up to 4 stories and 15 meters.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if they were to build a 4-story building there, does the zoning have any impact on whether the units could be condominium or rental, or is that completely up to the builder?
That's completely up to the builder. Land use planning doesn't specify the type of tenure of residential use. It would just state the type of residential use.
Oh, okay. So they're proposing a seniors development, but does it have to stay as a seniors development?
In this case, it would need to be a seniors development specifically,
Okay.
because of how the zoning is.
Okay.
Like when I gave that bit of the history, it was always intended that the seniors building would be built.
Right.
There's that exception 59 that has seniors only now in place. However, part of their amendment, their zoning bylaw amendment, is introducing another use as well with the affordable units, which aren't seniors units. So
Mhm.
that's part of the reason why the amendment's needed.
Okay. And that would include the rental portion as well, or is that what they're currently proposing? The 85 plus the 39, it would all be always seniors.
No, so the way they've proposed it is of about 124 units, 85 of them are senior specific, whereas the other 39 are just affordable rental. All of it's
Okay.
rental.
When
Yeah,
they
it's
say affordable, does that mean social housing? I'm not quite sure what the actual term for that would be. If you were to term it something other than affordable housing, what does that mean?
no, it doesn't always mean social housing. Usually social housing just means some type of government body or non-for-profits involved
Okay. All
that
right.
can subsidize.
Okay.
Affordable could even be ownership, like condo based. It's just
Okay.
percentage of what, if it's rent, what you're paying, and then or if it's a full price, like the percentage of it based on what current market conditions are.
Okay.
In this case, that's a better question, I think, for Sherry to answer, because I think the intent would be to partner with the CMHC in order to make them affordable. And staff don't know those details at such time. So
Okay.
if the applicant wants to add to that.
Sure. So thanks everyone for attending, and thanks Eric. So the affordable portion is only 10% below market median, which is what we're trying to offer, so that it is definitely not social housing, but it is definitely 10% cheaper than the median that's offered throughout the town for anyone who would require it or need it. And it is something that's being done in partnership with the CMHC, as you mentioned, that helps with facilitating us to be able to offer such rentals as part of this project.
All right. So to build on that question, if the building has to stay at 4 stories, what would the proportion be then? Would there be any component of affordable rentals?
I can't answer you because we haven't done that exercise. Obviously, my goal is to make sure I do have affordable and I have seniors. So the goal is to make sure that this building offers a variety, and obviously it is, catered for seniors, but even the senior portion of the building is also affordable. So it is not going to be just a regular senior residence. It will be so that it will be a bit lighter on the cost of living for the
I
senior
understand.
as well.
Yeah.
So the idea is that what we are providing would have the component of residential senior as well as the affordable. Now, what number of units? We haven't looked at the 4-story because, based on what we have seen and what we have reviewed, 6-story is what we are going for. So unless we are getting objections from the town that this is no way happening, then we'll look at the 4-story. But at this point, we're trying to give back to the community as much as we can by providing the affordable units as well as the senior affordable units. And that's the number of units that we're providing at this point. And the numbers that Eric mentioned are the numbers that we're looking at right now.
It just seemed like an odd mix to me to have such a high occupancy of seniors, and then, as you say, this 10% of unknown, whatever.
The 10% isn't unknown. It is still affordable. So the whole building is a building that's being built so that it will be a little bit cheaper than what is being offered anywhere else. Now,
Right.
the majority of the building is being occupied by seniors. We welcome that. We are not going to say no to that and say that this is only affordable, but our units are designed in a way that they are also designed as an accessible unit, which is something that you don't find in many places in many towns and cities around, Toronto and the area. So it will be something that we provide for seniors so that they can have the accessible units, as well as if there is anyone else that is, in need of these units, they can actually take the units and also pay affordable rates for rents. So the goal is to make it a building that's offers a variety. Yes, we can say that the whole building could end up being occupied by seniors, but we're not sitting there and saying, this number of people are seniors and this is the definition of seniors and that's it. What we're saying is that we are making sure that that number of units is definitely for seniors, and if there's need for any other type of accessible living sort of needs and those units are available, we will offer them, and we will offer them for cheaper than what the market is offering.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Liz. The next person with their hand up is Kay Wright. You should be, oh, sorry about that. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hello.
Hi, yes, go ahead and ask your
Hi,
question.
it's Keith, by the way.
Okay.
Just following on Liz's questions there regarding the 4-story. The building, first of all, the aesthetic of the building, it's 6-story. The design element and the material used. Could someone elaborate how that fits in with the community? Because the word urban was continued to be used throughout the presentation, and the building design, the concept, does not seem to fit in with the aesthetic of the community. So how was it determined that that look and feel is appropriate for the community?
So, I mean, that's the design that's been submitted before the town. So, I mean, that's what we're reviewing. Maybe, I'm not sure if the architect wanted to speak onto a little bit more on that.
Because if you look just down the road, you look at the Chartwell building. It has a more classic suburban feel to it. Then you've got the townhomes, the Henderson place, and then you've got houses beside it. And then you've got something that looks like would be in downtown Toronto, sandwiched in the middle. So what was the design aesthetic? What rationale was arrived at that design aesthetic would fit within the community?
Pete, I'll speak onto that, Eric, if you don't mind. So the idea was to create a modern development that mimics what traditional row housing would look like from traditional block townhouses. The idea with modern design is that it doesn't necessarily follow what some people like to call traditional. And the hard part with this is that everybody has a different view of what design should go into infill development. Should it be modern? Should it be traditional? There's a lot of people out there that think that traditional is just a pure copy of something that was done 100 years ago or 200 years ago, and that's not appropriate either. So the idea here is to come up with something that's new in a modern aesthetic, but grabs through from the modern materials the essence of certain residential developments and traditional materials that are used in houses. Wood, stone, those types of materials, but they're put together in a composition of a modern context to create what we have that we've presented in front of you. Everybody has a different opinion and they're entitled to it, and we appreciate that. And I mean, to say that, a neighborhood needs a larger development that essentially is purely traditional and that's how it should be, that's the reason why we have cities, and that's the reason why we have compositions of cities that are so many different buildings and types. And that's what draws interest in a community, not something that is the sameness that is throughout.
I thank you for that. The opinion is it lacks actual planning, that anything that comes in who's got enough money can just slap anything up. on the affordable housing, the rental unit, I see that the building is designed with the fitness or the community facilities on the top floor. And there's mention of the community use of the facilities in the garden. Does the community reference the residents of the building only? Or are you thinking the broader community in general?
So I'm going to answer that, Eric, if you don't mind. So the broader community is part of the condominium, and it will be the residents of the condominium, the senior residences of the condominium that live just behind this building and are part of that condominiums. We would have loved to be able to open it up to the public as a whole, but the logistics behind it are very difficult. So we decided that we will do the next best thing, which is to provide that as some sort of an of a facility for the neighborhood, to the the neighborhood that's part of the condominium that we were part of, and we are having it open to them.
So is that the residents of Henderson Place you're talking?
Yes.
Have they been approached about that? And is that something they're in favor of?
You know what? I have spoken to the residents of the Henderson Place. We do share the park. Obviously, that's part of the condominium. And I did mention that we could provide something. They have seen this, I am sure, by now. They haven't gotten back to me with any questions, but I don't think this will be an objection from them to be able to use this facility as part of their condominium. And I'm not sure if you have any specific questions with regards to that. Like,
I just wanted clarification on the word community because it seemed rather broad.
Well, you know what? We call community a group of people that live in a certain area. So we can say the whole community, meaning that we can open it up to everybody else in the area. But we have to also be logistically careful with that because we have to be able to provide security for the people who live in the building and many other factors. So the best thing that we can provide is because we are sharing amenities with the people as part of the condominium at the Henderson Place, we are providing it for them. And the fact that they are also seniors, it also makes it sort of more desirable for us to allow them to use the facilities that we are providing because we think that they do give benefits to the senior community as a whole. But we weren't able to look at the broader community. I don't know what word you would use to call that condominium community. If there's anything else, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's still called a community. Well, whether it is the broader community of the whole town, I can't say that. It is mainly the people that belong to that condominium at Henderson Place that are going to be using our facilities.
And in regard to there was mention of child care facility on the top floor, which leads me to believe that the affordable rental is really not geared towards senior.
Please let me correct you on that. It's not a child care area, but it is an area that if you were to exercise, you could have your kid there. Your kid could be a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old that could be there doing their work or homework, and you could be watching over them. This is just something that I've extracted from the other projects I'm doing, and we have carried it over here so that it gives anyone who lives in the community. It could be the grandkids of the elderly couple that live there that are staying with them, and they want to go and do their exercise and they want to watch over them. So it doesn't mean that it is speaking of a certain group of people that are going to be living in this building, but it is an idea that if there's anyone that is taking care of someone that's a minor, can take them up to the facilities up there, and it's something that's sort of for everyone, for multi-generation to use, so that if you have your grandkids staying with you, you can take them up there, you can do your exercise while they're doing their homework, while they're playing, and you can still watch over them and make sure that they're safe. So that's the idea.
Thanks. We have a couple more questions. One other question was, has any design consideration been thought of having those facilities on the top floor of a seniors building?
The fact that there are elevators these days takes that sort of worry out of our minds. We can be sure.
It's not the getting to the facility. It's the location. It's on the top floor. So you're talking about older people have balance. If there's going to be kids up there, kids can run around. Is there any thought, what sort of barriers are going to be set up to
So-
prevent people from toppling over the edge?
The planters all around the edge are provided so that there will be safety. So the safety concerns are addressed. Again, Nick can obviously sort of confirm, but what we have done is we have planters all around that are obviously provided for the purposes of safety, as well as making the railing system look better. Any balcony that you have in your home that is being used by, a minor or by anyone else is, does have a railing system, and that's something that we're providing. And beyond that, we're offering the planters that are being offered on the rooftop. Now, if there are, families going up there and their grandkids are running around, we have allocated a walking path that's on the roof, that's provided, which has planters and greenery all around it, that's provided so that people don't have to walk on the streets. Because to be honest with you, I think the danger of walking on the streets with the number of traffic accidents that we hear with pedestrians involved is definitely a lot more than you being on a secured rooftop that has railings and planters around you. So we have allocated the best part of the building, which has the better view and the cleaner view, to this idea. Usually what you see in developers do is that they have that as their penthouse units. What we are offering, we're not offering square footage to sell. What we're offering is we're offering the amenities that are providing services to the building and to the people who live in the building and the community adjacent to this, which is the Henderson Place community. A place for them to be able to sort of go and walk if they don't want to walk on the street, if they're worried about the traffic, if they're worried about the cars and the accidents that happen, they can go up there without having to worry about that. If they want to exercise, if they need to have, physiotherapy sessions with, in lap pools, they can go up there. These are all costs that we are willing to endure to provide and to give something back to the people who live in our building and to the adjacent community. So obviously the safety concerns are our concerns because, we are liable at the end of the day for this building. But the fact that we put it up there is actually should show you that, we've given the better place to that, because we could have come back to the town, and I think Eric can attest to that there are buildings that are designed with the rooftop units all up there. But this is just a community area. This is a facility that we're providing. So
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. I just have a couple of questions. This is Joanne. The first one is who will be owning this building long term, and who is going to be managing the property?
my company will be owning the building. As far as management, I will choose a management company to manage the company.
And back to the aesthetics and the architecture, this is a question for the town planner. Does the town have policies around aesthetics as new developments and new buildings are going in? Guidelines?
Yeah, no, we don't have specific urban design guidelines in a context like this. We do.
Do you know if any of our neighboring communities, like Whitby, for instance, has it? And the reason that I'm pointing that out is because as I drive through Ajax and see the new developments, it's a bit of a mishmash, for lack of a better word, as opposed to if I drive through Whitby, it has more continuity as I go through, even with a mix of urban and more traditional. There seems to be more continuity. My concern is that this area is already somewhat fragmented, and this building going in amongst that side of Old Harwood is going to further fragment things. So I'd like to know what why the town doesn't have any guidelines in that regard.
Well, I mean, we do have more detailed policies in certain areas. For example, I guess there'd be more urban design guidelines in an area like Pickering Village of Ajax. However, though, just in existing residential areas, we haven't at this point anyways, develops more detailed urban design guidelines that, some other municipalities have. I mean, your Whitby example, like, downtown Whitby, absolutely, that's a historic area. And all the new buildings that would have been built through West Whitby now, where all the new subdivisions are happening. I mean, there would have been certain design guidelines that were implemented for that whole area because it's a larger secondary planned area. But just given, I guess, the staff resources and just the size of Ajax, we haven't developed specific urban design guidelines for existing neighborhoods.
I think the challenge that we're seeing now, though, is yes, historically the size, but the size is growing significantly. And without that foresight, it's not looking appealing. So I'll just leave that. It perplexes me as to why the town would be short-sighted on that. And just looking at things piecemeal without looking at the overall cohesion. And in terms of the company that's proposing this, where are all of your other developments? You've referenced the city on a number of occasions. Have any of you come and actually looked within the community? Are you familiar with the community and how the current demographics?
Well, this site that we have taken over already had many of the designations. I'm not sure if your question is with regards to whether we know why we're designing a senior building or whether it's regarding the design of the building. Can you be more specific? Because yes, an area that we go to as developers, what we do is we look at what the policies will allow us, and we look at what we can offer and something that could work within the context of what we the policies that guide us. But beyond that, if you have a specific questions, if you could be more specific.
Well, my specific question is, where are your other developments?
I have projects in everywhere. Again, this is my company. I am not old enough to tell you I have 30 years of experience of planning and building, but my projects are with partnerships, and I, not this site, but other sites. I have a project at the corner of Queen and River Street in Toronto. If this is with regards to my experience, I have just built, put a sales center, and we have sold, and we're getting ready for construction on Queensway, which is 689 the Queensway, which is the Reina condo that my planner mentioned, which is a condo site, which is a 9-story condo that's going up on the Queensway. I have a project in Richmond Hill, which is another 6-story condo. I have a project in Newmarket, which is a semi-townhouse, semi and single project. I have built close to 15, 16 single family homes, and I have done many developments. I have a project in Port Hope, which is also, a multi unit, sort of mixed use building. I also, again, my project at the corner of Queen and River is in partnership with Liberty Development, who have extensive experience of building and developing. I have the Reina condos with Urban Capital, again, in partnership, which they have been doing projects for many years.
So I guess the design aesthetic looks good at Queen and River, or the Queen.
The design aesthetic from
I guess the question that we're trying to get to is, have you walked into a, for lack of a better, bedroom community, which Ajax was long known as, and looked and built a 6-story, for lack of a better, apartment building in the middle of a bedroom community?
So let me answer you this. I'm not designing a building at a corner of Queen and River. I am designing a building in Ajax, and I think I understand that much. And I think I have hired architects who are very good at what they do. Now, if your design ideas and the fact that you don't see this building fitting with the context of this street is not something that's appealing to you, I don't know if I can help that, because if I were to put a traditional building that looks exactly like the building that you are mentioning further south from us, there could be a couple of people just like you speaking to me tonight, telling me that design just doesn't work. And why are we repeating the same thing over and over? And why are we designing the same thing? So as far as if you were asking questions from me, of whether I understand, if I'm designing for Ajax or if I'm designing for Queen Anne River, yes, I do, thankfully. And I think my architect does very much as well. So I will leave it to Nick to talk about the design, but again, that's very subjective. We can talk about this till tomorrow.
That's
Okay, that's
No,
okay. You know
it's-
what? We're done, because I see Andrew Slater is rather upset that someone's dominating the question period. So thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Keith and Joanne. I will go on to the next speaker. And before I go on to the next speaker, Barry, you're next, and I'll be unmuting you soon. We do have about an hour left in this webinar. So we do have a lot of people with their hands.
Yes, and I think, can we please?
Sure, can you just give me a second here, please?
Sure.
So I ask that everyone, if you can keep your questions succinct, and I also do ask town staff, the consultant, and the applicant to please keep your answers succinct as well, so we can get to everyone who has their hands up and wants to ask a question. Okay, so now we are going to Barry. Barry, you should be able to unmute yourself. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, Barry?
Yes, I have a concern about traffic. Does the proposed development have access from Harwood through into the existing Henderson Place development, or is that separate? The moment we have a secure access gate, and that I'm wondering if that stays in place.
Yep. So to answer your question, the proposal that's been submitted has two accesses, one off of Old Harwood and one off of Bantham Lane. This property, the owner does have an easement over Bantham Lane, given that the fact this was originally supposed to be a two-phase development. So there is vehicle access allowed to use Bantham Lane to access this site. You're correct, there's that gate there. Based on our review so far, it looks like there'd have to be a gate relocation. So, I mean, staff do have some comments and concerns about that. That is gonna, I guess, how feasible it is and logistics of that. So that is something that's gonna have to be addressed and explored.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barry. I had started a list and I noted that Andrew Slater was next on the list, but Andrew, you lowered your hand. So if you're interested in asking a question, okay, thank you. Andrew, I am going to unmute you.
Hi
Go
there.
ask your question. Hi.
Hi, thank you everyone for your time tonight. My apologies to the gentleman. My remark wasn't intended to offend. I do apologize. My question was for Eric, and it was with respect to parking. Eric, as an old property manager, I spent a lot of my time dealing with parking issues at condominiums. And if I'm quoting the numbers correctly, I believe we're in the 90s for parking and in the 120s for residents, for units. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Does
Yep,
the town
go on.
take an official position on this? Do they have a standard that everyone is required to meet? Do they consider them on an ad hoc basis, on an individual basis? And what's the town's opinion on the parking aspect of this proposal?
Yeah, so we do have individual parking rates for different uses. In this case though, however, exception 59, the previous zoning, did set a site-specific parking rate for seniors units. It is quite low, it's 0.25 spaces per unit. So this proposed development is using that. And overall, the proposed parking supply, the 94 spaces, actually does meet the minimum parking requirements that would be required given the current zoning.
Thanks, Eric. I would just add that there's the standard that's required, and then there's the practical application. And just my experience, there's a lot of separation between the two of them, and that my mom and dad celebrated their 83rd and 84th birthday this year, and both just got their license renewed. So I'll just make sure that concern's noted. Thanks, Eric.
Yep, no, it's a very good point.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Andrew. The next person with their hand up is Bob. And Bob, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Am I on now?
You are, go ahead.
Okay, the one thing, I'm one of the original owners of Henderson Place. And when we bought here, we were told the whole story by the sales committee here that was was when we bought, that Dr. Henderson had read the dream of making this a total adult community. And when we bought, the first phase was obviously Gidley, Bantham, and Henderson, or Hirschfield Lane and that. So in 1992, he presented the town with a proposal which consisted of a building of retirement suites surrounded by cozy bungalow-style homes, which included his very own home, which we have as our clubhouse. So with this piece of land, it was supposed to be a nursing home. We were sold on the idea that this was a nursing home, going to be a nursing home, so that if any of the husbands and or wives got sick, that it was a very short walk to the nursing home that was going to be there. And that was going to be what it is. And I don't understand how the town is going against what this proposal, and it was all approved by the town that this was going to happen. So why anything would be let to have anything but seniors buildings being done. Also, because of the height of the buildings, that is what now the Harwood place behind us is for what they wanted to make it more than 4 stories, but the town said no, from what I understand. So now you want to build a 6 or 7 story apartment there. What's it going to do to the people, the value of our homes and the value of the people that just north of the development that you're proposing? It's supposed to be an adult community and a low level thing, low level buildings. I just don't kind of understand why it can't stay like that. Eric?
I mean, so the town isn't proposing this, just to clarify that. Any developer, any owner is entitled to submit a development proposal and the associated applications that come with that. And the town's obligated to process that. So, I mean, that's simply what we're doing.
Okay.
No decisions have been made.
No, okay, that's fine. But if this was okayed by the town when he made his proposal, and then they started the Henderson Place community, which the north lot, which they're want to build on right now. Now we have a couple of problems here because I mean, Sherry was talking about safety. So what is the possible construction going to be on Bantham Lane when this is being built? Another problem is when the Harwood Place was being built, the amount of vibration in the ground caused in my house here, and I'm on Hirschfield, it caused cracks in my ceiling, cracks in my walls, cracks in my foundations and everything. And we have a lot of that. Our roads are all broken up because of the actual vibration of what's this building going to do? Who's going to pay for it? Of the damage that's done to our buildings. And then you're talking about, Sherry was talking about the safety. Well, bringing in 124 units, or the number of people that are going to be coming in on Bantham Lane, we have seniors who continually do walking around the actual, because it's about going around the whole outside of the Henderson Place here. It's approximately a half a kilometer. So people can measure how many kilometers or miles, whatever, that they walk in a day. And there's quite a number of people who do that. So with all the constructions here, all the additional traffic, that's going to cause problems to be dangerous to the Henderson Place residents. And we also, as Sherry mentioned, we share the park. So from what I understand, they own 30% of the park and we own 70% of the park. Who's going to monitor who comes into our park, especially for the, excuse me, especially for the units that you say just affordable housing there? Who's going to monitor all this? And who, because right now our park is that we don't, there's no strangers come in here. Everybody around the park, we all monitor, and if we ask the people to leave, because it says there's signs all the way around the fence that excuse me, that says it's a private park, it's a private park. Who's going to monitor this if you come in with that place and 30% of the people are, whether they live there or not, or whether the people who are in affordable housing bring all their friends and then possibly all their friends think that they can come anytime because their friend lives in this new building? That who's going to monitor all of that?
Okay, can I answer to this, Eric?
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, Bob. Thank you so much for talking about your concerns. Obviously, I am listening to them, but I also have comments. Whether it is a 4-story or a 6-story or even a 10-story building, the construction was something that you knew was going to happen on this parcel of land. Even if this was going to be a senior residence, as you mentioned, there would be construction that needed to happen in order for this building to happen there. I hope I'm correct, because there's no other way of constructing a building. You have to go through that whole process. Now, what we can help with is we can, make sure that our construction crew are as cautious as they can be, and they can take all the necessary cautions that they need to in order to make sure that there are no damages. But any construction was something that you guys would have known that was going to happen on this site. Now, as far as the park, I understand, and I have a feeling that the name affordable housing is bringing a lot of concern. But if I were to explain the affordable housing part of this project to anyone that's out there, or any of the residents of the current Henderson place, is that if and when you were to downsize and you wanted to live in an apartment, what this building would offer you was something that would be cheaper than the buildings to the south of us. And it would be a rental that would accommodate you and provide you amenities that you could use, and this building would be just cheaper than that building. So what we are offering is that affordability, not just for the people who are coming to the building to live there, and they could be a family, but also to you. Now, affordable doesn't mean that this is going to be something that's going to bring trouble. There are a lot of families that fall within the threshold of affordable, to qualify for affordable housing, that are not the type of families that could cause any trouble. Now, we have no problem dedicating the whole building to senior living, but we don't want to take that affordable side out of it. And that's our goal. Now, when we say affordable, is so that it will leave some more money in the pockets of any senior who wants to live in this building, so that they can pay for anything else that they might need to. So the idea is to make sure that we take all the necessary precautions so that all of that is met, whether it is safety or anything else. Now, we will definitely have security. We will definitely have some way of monitoring and some way of property management, the same way you do. I have spoken to Andrew, and I know that he takes care of the site, and I have been, I hope Andrew can correct me, but I have also been trying to work with you as far as the maintenance of the park, even beyond what I actually legally own, so that I can help out, because the previous owners never did that. So I tried to be active in that way and try to provide whatever I could in order to facilitate the taking care of that community and the facilities such as park that we have available. And what I am giving back to you and your family is that you can use the facilities that we're providing as amenities. Now, you can be sure that because we have a very large number of seniors living in our building, everything that concerns traffic and safety is also of our concern. And we have made sure that we look at it. And that's why security and property management are something that we will definitely look into. And we make sure that we monitor the people who are going to be using the park. But again, when this plan was designed and when this building and your property was sold to you, you knew that this building will be built, and you knew that this building will be using this park.
Could I just cut in for a second here?
Sure, go ahead.
When, like I said to you, when we bought these houses, we were told that the town approved all seniors, both developments, your property and our property and the rest of our development, all seniors, not affordable housing for people.
Bob, this is affordable senior living. If you have absolutely.
No, no. You're saying affordable seniors, and then you're saying affordable other units. We don't want that. We don't want that here.
You know what, honestly, to be honest with you, I have absolutely no problem doing that. And I saw that question and I feel like I need to answer it. CMHC financing is not going to be something that for a developer is going to be something that's going to be the reason why I do affordable building. I thought of an affordable building because I thought that rents are extremely high for.
I know you mentioned that. I know you mentioned all of that before. All I'm saying to you
I
is
saw another question and I figured maybe I can use your time to answer that as well. And I forgive me if that's a mistake, but I'm just saying I have absolutely no problem to make sure that I rent out the whole building to seniors to keep everybody at Henderson Place happy. To be honest with you, CMHC will not mind that as either, because I would be qualified to do CMHC financing, rental building financing, if I were to only do seniors. I have added an incentive, which is to make sure it's provided and provides something more, which is affordable senior living. So again, this is not a problem. We did not think that this would be a problem. We thought that it wouldn't be a big problem if we were to provide some units for families that needed accessible units, and that's what we did. Otherwise, if this is a big concern, and if the town and the people that live in that area have a problem with us offering it as an affordable to anyone else but seniors, me as the owner of the project have no problem making sure that it is all geared towards seniors. So this is my answer to you. Again, there's a reason why we have this discussion and this conversation, and that's exactly why I'm here. So I am basically answering you with regards to your comment. I have no problem offering this as a whole senior building, and I don't mind doing it as an affordable senior, so that if you ever decided that you wanted to downsize and move into my building, you could use the incentives of affordability and also senior living. Again, that's my answer.
Okay, I appreciate that very much. But as I'm saying, the one reason why most of us bought, especially the originals, there's a number of originals still in here. We bought that because we said that was told it's totally going to be seniors units in both properties.
No problem. We can call the whole building affordable senior living, and I would have absolutely no problem with that as the owner of the building. So
we'll go back and we'll have some discussions offline, Sherry, about this. And we'll have to let somebody else raise their questions now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. And again, I do remind everyone to keep your questions and answers succinct. Next person up is John. John, you should be able to unmute and ask your question.
I push the unmute. Are we fine now?
Yep, we're good.
I guess with the affordable 39 units, so on and so forth, 1 and 2 bedroom, well, how is that going to be broken down? How many units are there in total? How many 1 bedroom of the affordable are going to be there? How many 2 bedroom? So if you run out of a 2 bedroom affordable, like, how are you going to maintain that? You're not going to rent it? I hope I'm making myself clear. Am I?
is that the question for me?
Well, that's
I
one
think
of the,
Nick can answer the breakdown question.
you have a total of how many units?
124 units, but Nick, if you have
Can
it
answer that
available.
question. Yeah, so we have 124 units. Right now, the breakdown is that we have 108 1-bedroom and 16 2-bedroom. We don't have a split of what units will be affordable at this time, but we will be developing that as we get closer to a building permit, but we don't have that breakdown as of yet.
So if you had seniors who wanted all the 2 bedrooms, then there wouldn't be any affordable in that 39 units for 2 bedroom? Like, I don't know how you're going to control that, but good luck. Bantham Lane. I guess when you first opened up, you said it was a private road. And I understood that to be private road then for the Henderson community. Is that correct or incorrect?
Nope, that's correct. It is a private condominium road. However, though, 290 Old Harwood, this property does have an easement for access over that condo road.
Okay, have you looked to see where that gate is?
Oh yeah, that's part of our comments. I mean, that is something that's going to have to be addressed because
So-
right now that what's been proposed would eliminate the location of that. So it would have to be relocated, and that's going to have to be in a feasible location.
There is no location. Really, it's at the end of Bantam and right into the townhouses. So would that mean that anybody could drive right through that? And I guess
I mean,
it's
the town wouldn't be approving a design like that, given it's already a gated community. So no, this would be something that would have to be addressed.
okay, because I just can't see where they're going to place that. And as was previously stated, a lot of the seniors walk up and down and around and through. So it's got to be gated. Okay. Now, the maintenance of the park. I guess I was told at one point in time that we paid for the whole thing as part of the community here, as well as we paid for the, I guess, the removal of snow on Bantam Lane. And nothing was ever absorbed by the owners of this 290. Is that correct?
Based on current conditions, yes, that would be my understanding. However, if this were to be developed and the park is obviously split 70-30, that's a shared facility. There's going to have to be a shared facilities agreement between the two owners, the condominium corporation and 290 Old Harwood, to figure those kind of logistics out, to govern the use, govern the costs. And the same goes for Bantam Lane.
Well, I think the owners know that they own 30% of it, but what
Yes, and we have been paying for it. So you can confirm with Andrew. Again, we have been receiving invoices from the people who take care of the property, and we have been paying our due share. Again, if you could put Andrew on, I'm sure he can attest to that.
Okay, and then I guess I'll make this my last question. I hope it's short. What is a senior in your estimation? Is that somebody 55 and over?
Is that question for Eric or for me?
For anyone that can answer me, 55 and over, or 65 or 70, or what's a senior?
So we haven't been given any specifics by the town as far as what that definition exactly means. So, you know.
So just to jump in there, we can't give specifics like that because that's people zoning, and from a land use planning perspective, we cannot do that. So although it's a seniors building and units are going to be designed, you know, more accessible, barrier free to accommodate seniors, however they market that's going to be up to them. The town's not going to have zoning in place that says, you know, only 55 years and older can purchase here.
Okay. And then they can't really say it's a seniors.
You can, just by the way it's designed and how it's marketed.
Okay.
Then, but like I said, we can't limit who purchased something. That's beyond the scope of zoning and land use planning. So okay, yes, with the whole seniors aspect, it does get a little tricky.
Yeah, technically speaking, you are limiting it by saying senior. So we'll leave it at that.
Don, did you have any other questions?
I believe we do, but we'll put those in writing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to move on to the next speaker. Thaya, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Ken. I'm Thaya's son.
Okay.
So here's our concern. So Thaya, like us, we purchased this house 20 years ago, and we were told the same thing. We live right across, we live at 321 Old Harwood. So we were told that is a gated senior community. So, you know, that's the reason that we purchased this home. And then the approval is only 4 stories. However, if they're proposing for 6 stories, we're going to be blocked our evening sun. Like we don't get a sunlight in the evenings because of this 7-story or 6-story building that's going to go up. So that's one of the concerns that we have. And then the second questions I have is there any plan for waste management? Because it's going to be 124 units where the garbage is going to be loaded up. Where is the garbage that's going to be located, the waste, the bins?
So just to answer that, one of the town's requirements is for indoor waste facilities. So an indoor garbage room is proposed on the ground floor, and there is a loading space next to it for the truck access to it. So there would not be outdoor storage of garbage permitted.
But the bins would have to be pulled out for the truck to
They would be
access, correct?
loaded with the vehicle comes to service that. However, all the bins would be inside the indoor garbage room.
Okay, and where is that facing towards? That's facing towards Old Harwood?
That is facing towards the north property line.
North property line. Okay. And then is there any proposal on the plumbing, like drain? Right now, I'm not sure how big the drains is running underground for sewer or storm.
Yeah, so through any development proposal, we have to look at the functional servicing. So that's from a site servicing perspective and stormwater management perspective. So all the site servicing, the water, the sanitary sewers, capacity services, the drainage on site, the drainage entering into the town storm sewers, all that has to be reviewed in fine detail. So these all matters that are addressed through the development review process.
All right, so we have a few more questions. What we will do, we will send an email as well. So we don't want to hold this meeting. I know it's already getting late. So thank you so much.
Okay, actually, you could ask, I can allow you to ask one more question. We've got about a half hour left. We do have 3 other people that have their hands up, but they are people that have already asked some questions. So I can have you ask another question if you'd like.
Sure. So Old Harwood is designed as 1 lane or 2 lanes. With 124 units, I'm sure there's going to be more vehicles added in the area. So how is the city going to develop the street, widen it, or how are they going to control the traffic?
So as part of the development proposal, one of the submitted studies was the transportation impact study, which is common for any development proposal. Basically, that looks at existing traffic conditions, future background conditions is what they call it. So in the future, if other development proposals in the area were to be developed and just general growth rates that get applied, and then future total, which would be whatever traffic's estimated for this site on top of all that. And it looks at the different nearby intersections and kind of studies what type of delays and queuing is all there. And from a transportation perspective, I guess there's kind of a level of service of what's deemed acceptable and what's deemed an issue. So the transportation impact study did look at that. And I guess based on the traffic that's estimated to be generated from this development proposal, there does not appear to be any major concerns or issues. The roadway, the existing intersections are all supposed to are expected to operate at acceptable levels of service. So.
Okay. And can I ask one more question or?
Yep.
Yes, we still have people who have already spoken who have their hands up. So I would also like to, before you actually ask your question, if anyone hasn't asked a question yet and you would like to, please put your hand up and I'll put you at the beginning of the queue. If not, after this, we'll go to others. Okay, thank you. You can go ahead. Just one last question then.
Yep. For the developer, how are they trying to eliminate any dust control? Like, are they going to have any dust control plan in place?
At this point, I don't have an answer to that, but I will definitely discuss it with my consultants and I can get back to you at a later date.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, so currently we have four people with their hand up. Okay, we don't have anyone new. These are all people. Oh, okay, we do. Barb Nolan, I will go to you. You should be able to unmute yourself, Barb.
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Nick. I'm Barb's fiance. I have a question about the comment was made that the building is part of the condominium community here at Henderson Place. First of all, who is the actual owner of that building? Because it's from what I understand, it's privately owned and it's all going to be rental apartments. Nobody in there is buying a unit as a condo, right?
That's correct. The proposal that's been submitted is a rental apartment building. So yeah, no one would own the units. It would just be one property manager for all of it, and then someone would own the building and the property itself.
So the owner of that building, or this developer that's developing the property, has mentioned that they're part of the Henderson Place condo community. Is that right?
I think they've referred to trying to develop something that's going to be inclusive to the Henderson Place community. Yes, that's correct.
Seeing as they said, there's part ownership of the road and the park and a few other things.
Oh, yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
So they're claiming they're part of the condo community. So if the people that live in Henderson Place are all owners of their own condos here, but they all have input in a community-based system here, that if there's any improvements on the property, that they all agree on it or they vote or whatever needs to be done. Is the owner of that building going to be part of that to have input as to what can be changed or developed in Henderson Place?
So you're asking if this developer property owner would be part of the condominium corporation, like on the board of directors?
The people that own that apartment building, whether it's one or five people, would they also be part of this condominium association here at Henderson Place?
I do own the building. I will own the building as well. So I haven't discussed that, to be honest with you, with the people that are part of the condominium. And I don't think we would want to make decisions for the people of the Henderson Place, so to speak, the people who are already there and our owners. We will make decisions for the people who live in our building. And if there are any concerns with regards to the upkeep of the park or the road, we would like to be involved. But beyond that, we're not asking for permission to be involved in anything else.
I think that could be part of a legal issue, matter too, because if there's changes that has to be made for the park or other parts of this property, that it would be in the best interest of the people that live here already, that the owners of that building would be excluded.
We can obviously talk about all that legality when it comes to it and when the time comes. Again, at this point, I think it's too premature for me to talk about it, but it's not our intention to.
That's what we normally hear on start of developments. It's not their intention, but those things need to be done in writing before anything is developed. Thank you.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have, if there's anyone, any of the attendees who have yet to speak that would like to ask a question, please do raise your hand. Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to go back to some of the attendees that have already asked questions. First in line is Keith and Joanne. You should be able to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, hi. This is a question more to Eric. So Eric, from the town.
Yep.
Just clarify for me, is this a done deal? Is the building going forward? Because some of the responses are leading me to believe this is a done deal. It's just a matter of finalizing a few details.
No, no decisions have been made. No.
Okay, so with that being said, has the town seriously gone back? Dr. Henderson and his wife, and thank you, Bob, for raising this. Dr. Henderson and his wife, Penny, were leaders in the community. I remember when we went there when we were having our kids and Penny was doing the Lamaze, and her vision for that property was an all-inclusive, encompassing environment for seniors. And Bob is right that there was an extension for elder care if someone was going to become sick, that the community could support, you know, the husband, the wife, whatever, could have that support because they'd be very close by. Has the town gone back and revisited Dr. Henderson's vision for that property? Because I think it's crucial for the continuity and of his vision for this community. Is the town going to go back and revisit that? I feel for the people in Henderson Place right now, because what they were sold is looking like it's turning into something completely different.
Yeah, that's definitely something we can look into. I mean, no, at this point, no, I personally have not looked back to the original vision. No.
So can I implore you, can I ask you to go back to the town, go back to the mayor, go back, ask the previous mayor what the conversations were with the Hendersons and what that vision looked like. Because I think it's key and critical to the success of that property. And that's my final point. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next I'm going to go to Dave. Go
Yes,
ahead.
hi. I'm living in Henderson Place at the present time. I have two concerns to address right now. The first one being privacy. What happens to the privacy of those single-family homes directly to the north, the west, and the east of this proposed 7-story building? And my second issue is, if the owner is willing to make it 100% senior, why not just come out and say that rather than say you might do it?
To the first point, yes, no, it's definitely a good point. Privacy is one of the major concerns that we have to consider and we have to review. I mean, we do have some policy requirements that would have to be maintained regardless of the height that's proposed. For example, because there is low density residential to the north, we do have a requirement for a 45-degree angular plane, which kind of more so looks at the shadowing of the potential building. Ensures that the building and the full height of it doesn't encroach if you were to draw a 45-degree angular plane from that north property line where the low density is. The building would have to be contained within under that line, which the shadow, I mean, it's more so shadow based. However, it does result with the building having to be set back further, which then has obviously privacy implications. We do have other studies and stuff that we review, such as sun shadow analysis as well. But there are other things we have to keep in mind. And for example, the official plan does allow for up to a 6-story building height. So there's already existing permissions too that have to be factored in when we're reviewing everything.
Did you have anything further, Dave?
Well, I'd just like to point out that there are a lot of very low income seniors in need of housing. So why not just simply make that affordable housing a senior component of the development?
If that's a question for me, as I said, I have no problem looking into that and potentially doing that. So, you know, I will definitely discuss it with my team, but I think that's something that's definitely possible.
I have one more question, and we're going back to this Bantam Lane issue. There is a gate, as you know, at the end of Bantam Lane. Looking at the proposed development and where the underground parking is going in, I do not see how that's going to be safe for either the people exiting that parking or the people in Henderson Place trying to exit or enter their residences. So how are you going to resolve that issue?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, through the town's comments, we have raised that concern as well. So I think there is going to have to be some consideration on the applicant's end to consider that matter further.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, do we have anyone who hasn't asked a question yet interested in asking a question? If so, please put your hand up. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go to Andrew. Andrew, you should be able to unmute.
Sorry about that. I didn't know my hand was still up. I'm good, thank you.
Oh, you're good. Okay, thank you. Okay, I see that Andre has his hand up. Andre, you should be able to unmute.
Everybody here?
Yes, go ahead.
Am I on?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I live on the northern side of the adjacent properties, and I would like to say about very, very dangerous condition along southern side of the building, because owner requested only 1.5 meter wide setback, which is deadly dangerous. It used to be current right now 6 meter. I made picture when a snow plow made one pass of snow. One pass of a snow plow left 1 meter wide and half meter of heavy snow. And I could not imagine how people could walk on this sidewalk. It's absolutely unacceptable. But sometimes we have few days of snowfall. It's a collapse already by design. If somebody passing by made pictures, there is still a pole. It's a bend by hitting. And it's unbelievable. And I'm surprising. I have a bachelor degree in civil engineering. 40 years I am doing civil projects, and I never ever seen this dangerous condition. Second one, I was surprised how tree protection zone has been located. That's why I call independent arborist, and he made report for me on March 1st this month. And it has been revealed that first report has been made wrong way. And right now, underground parking lane and top locates within the tree protection zone. So this project will completely kill approximately 15 huge height of the blue spruces located on my and my neighbor property. Somebody could, I would like to ask Eric, is it possible?
Yep.
Eric, I sent you and to other member of the town new updated arborist report. I would like to make sure it's considered to be valid and somebody review and make evaluation, because
Yes.
so many. Okay, sorry, please keep answering.
Oh, yeah, no, it's valid. I have sent it to our staff to look at. I also did send it to the applicant's consultant so that they're aware. It's not to say that the arborist report that was submitted is not valid. They're two different reports. I think ultimately this is a conversation we can have after the public open house, and it's going to have to involve some coordination between the two arborists ultimately to move forward.
Sorry, Eric, thank you very much for response. Actually, you made me happy. You made me feel comfortable that anytime I'm ready to communicate, because it couldn't be like this. Very honestly, I already contacted one ministry and I scheduled to contact second, even third one. And I gonna keep working till the logical end, because I wanna tell one more time thank you for Bob Martin and other persons who mentioned, because it couldn't be like this. I'm so ashamed to hear that we are creating public area on the roof in Ajax, where a lot of spaces. I refuse to trust what I hear. How come in Ajax we are doing public area on the roof? Just we need to listen what sometimes we saying to another one. Or we start talking about like affordability of the prices. How much cost our well-being? Because since we came here, because of this tree, my wife saying to me, I have three daughters. They never ever been sick. Never. We came from low part from Ventris, and we got like every year, a few months during the winter. My daughter was sick. Here, nothing. What's the price? And what's the price for our well-being when this huge building gonna close half of the sky? And the same, I'm surprising the some residents living on the Harwood Avenue, and even they were not informed about this proposal. So I'm finished my time. Thank you very much. I let my neighbor keep talking, keep asking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andre. Oops. Sorry, I think I just lowered John's hand in error. John, if you had another question, you can put your hand back up. In the meantime, Nick / Barb Nolan, you do have your hand up. Oh, okay, John, you have your hand up. I'm going to unmute you. Okay, John, you should be able to ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Just one quick question for Eric, I presume. The traffic survey you did, when was that? Was it during COVID?
So I mean, the town didn't do it. It's the applicant has consultants that prepare that. It dated back. Well, it's the report itself is dated from this summer. I think the one survey though, when they looked at some existing conditions, was from 2019, September 2019. But a lot of the data that comes from a traffic study isn't based on a one-time survey. A lot of it is pulled from different data publications and software. So not just like a one point in time thing.
I can assure you, in the last year and a half, the traffic has been very limited. However, the speed, no. I think somebody should check into the speed. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have someone new, two new people who have their hands up. So I'm going to go to David. David, you should be able to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to comment on the traffic aspect on Old Harwood and remind Eric that the assessment of traffic on Old Harwood has been under review by the town, I believe, since the residents adjacent to Old Harwood raised concerns in 2019. And the resultant study by the town, again, as I believe, has resulted in a decision by the town to take traffic calming measures on Old Harwood in this 2020. And that decision stands even though Old Harwood presently has reduced traffic, but the speed, what has happened, I believe, is that the traffic flow in this area has changed, and Old Harwood has become a desirable alternative to Harwood, because you can join Old Harwood at McGill in the north and speed right down with no traffic lights and less traffic than Harwood. The traffic on Old Harwood now is heavy and cannot stand the increased traffic from the cars on this 7-story tower. 124 units and provision for 80 parking. And with all due respects to Eric's 0.25 car per unit, that doesn't stand up in today's world, there will be at least 125 cars, and I would think more, with only 80 parking on the premises. There's going to be a significant increase in parking on the street, and that I would suggest will extend to parking on Bantham Lane, which will effectively close Bantham Lane in terms of the purpose that it was intended for, which was to provide emergency vehicle access in the event of a crisis. One other aspect that I would like to comment on that I think has permeated the discussion this entire evening, and that is that this 7-story tower is going against the expectations of probably every resident in the area. We heard from Bob very eloquently the expectations of the owners in Henderson Place. Those expectations are being disregarded by this proposal, apparently with some support from the town. The expectations, however, also, I think, of every resident on Old Harwood, that they would live, that they were buying into and would be entitled to enjoy, with the protection of the town, the security and peace of a low density residential area. With the arrival of a 7-story tower, those expectations are going to be significantly impacted. And I think that in the consideration of this tower, considerable weight should be given to the responsibility of the town to support the interests of the residents of Old Harwood, of Henderson Place, and the residents of Old Harwood, to support the commitments that the town gave them in terms of the conditions under which they purchased property. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I will now go to Mirza. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I live just across 317 Old Harwood Avenue. So I have a major concern about the congestion in regards to the pedestrian and traffic. And I also have been listening all the comments and the suggestions. And I see like everybody have questioned all around that proposed building, like Henderson Avenue, and those lives on the north of the building, and I'm on the east side. So everybody has issues. So considering all those things, like I want to know about the city, how the city is thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, so we're considering all the comments that have been heard today. We have provided comments to the applicant as well. Some of our comments do touch on some of the aspects of these concerns we've heard today, but it's all kind of a work in progress. So we're going to continue to consider all these comments further and hopefully address it as the development process continues.
Okay, continuing my question, like I also understand that all those consideration and suggestions coming all around this building, the people or the residents who lives like for years, right? So I'm very hopeful that the city will prefer these comments in respect of building this building. So I'm pretty much hopeful that the city will take all those advices which coming from the existing residents. Can you have some remarks on that?
I mean, so there's a lot of things from a land use planning perspective we have to consider. Yes, the public interest is one, which is all the comments. We also have to factor in existing land use permissions, and then as well as the kind of the overarching land use planning policy framework, which is at a provincial, regional, and local level, all of which have a lot of different, I guess, competing interests. Like one of them is intensification, one of them is housing diversification, the provision of affordable housing, the provision of seniors housing. So it's kind of a balancing act of all those different factors.
Okay, thank you. I have a last question. When this, at this point, city has some regarding this builder, they have any plan when they are starting this project and when they will be finishing this project?
So that's all subject to when and if what gets approved. Are you asking more so if it were to be approved, what the timing of construction would be like?
Yes, after the approval, do you have any guideline from the builders?
No, not at our point. I don't know, Sherry, if you want to touch on that a little bit, if you had some timing in mind, if something were to be approved.
When we get the approvals from the town, right? So, and we also have to go through the technical aspect of getting everything and the permits ready before we can start construction. So I can't give you any timelines. We're here, we're hearing your concerns, and we're gonna hear all the comments from the town and then move forward. I don't have any timelines.
So last question, I'm sorry taking time. The last question is that considering I'm listening all the correspondence and talks of this meeting. So what I'm thinking, everybody around this area, all residents have a complaint and issues. So I hope that the town will take city will take consideration for all those residents who are already living here.
Yep, like I said, the public interest and the concerns are one of the many things we have to consider. So yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric, and all those.
Okay, thank you. We do only have 2 minutes left in the webinar, and I would like to ask if any of the counselors have any comments they would like to make. If you do, can you just raise your hand so that I can see? Okay, Councillor Tyler Morin.
Oh, thank you so much, Steph. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Just thanks to you and Eric and everyone in planning who worked on this, and Ms. Lajarni and her team for coming tonight and being accessible to the residents of Ajax. And to my neighbors and my friends and the residents that live at Henderson Place and in the surrounding area, I want you to know that we walk those streets, we see the area, and our lens is through you. We hear everything you're saying, and when this ends, we keep going. We're always trying to get the absolute best results for the community as it exists and as it grows. So please know that we have a lot of the same concerns, and we're going to continue to bring them up. I do like the reference that Mr. Martin, I should say, spoke about earlier today, and Andrew Slater brought it up about Mr. Henderson and his vision. I remember when it was a doctor's office, when it was like a clinic, when we first moved to Ajax more than 30 years ago and raised our 3 daughters. And I think that's a good something to keep in mind. Anyways, I don't want to be long-winded. And also to Ms. Lajarni for being open to some of the suggestions that were brought up tonight. Procedurally, it's where it falls more into the Eric Simpson and Nick to work everything out. But I think overall, there might be some symmetry here today. So thank you to every single resident that took the time to come here tonight, because that's really what it's all about. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And was there anyone else from council that wanted to make a comment? If not, I can close the meeting. Okay, so seeing none. I do want to thank everyone, all the attendees who took their time out from their evening this evening to join us for this public open house. We do really appreciate your questions and your feedback. As Eric has said, we are still reviewing the applications, and we will be taking all these comments and all the feedback into consideration as we continue to review it. You do have more opportunities to provide your comments. You can submit your comments in writing on the town's IMO page. You can also email them directly to Eric. There will also be another opportunity for public participation. We will be having a public meeting sometime in the future. The date is still to be determined, where we will bring forward sort of staff's recommendations. And it will be before the planning committee, which all of council sits on. So you will have your opportunity at that point again to provide comments and address council. So with that, I will close the meeting, and I want to thank everyone again for attending. Thank you to staff. Thank you to members of council, to the applicants and their consultants. And with that, thank you everyone, and have a good night.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you, staff. Thank you, everyone. Night.